Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation here in Spain, day 344 of the current situation. And rioting continues to take place in some cities around Spain, especially in the Catalonia region, as a disillusioned youth take to the streets to express their anger on a wide range of issues, but more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel by buying merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your support. Now let's get into the news, and as I said, another night of rioting last night, unfortunately in some cities in Spain. As we can see from this headline, destructions and looting on the fifth night of protests in Catalonia in support of Pablo Hasél. In Madrid, more than 100 people gathered peacefully in the central Plaza de Callao. Barcelona and other Catalan cities have been the scene this Saturday of a new day of protests to demand the freedom of Pablo Hasél, who entered prison to serve a 9-month sentence for exalting terrorism and insulting the monarchy. In Barcelona, groups of hooded men who have participated in the demonstration have looted shops on Paseo de Gracia, smashed the windows of the Palau de la Música with stones, and made a fire with material from neighbouring shops at the door of the stock exchange. So the violent protests continue, mainly in Catalonia. We saw that in Madrid they're a little bit more peaceful than they have been over the last few days, but in Catalonia the situation's still out of control, with rioting, looting and different acts of vandalism going on. We saw that the riots originally started because of a rap artist being sentenced to prison, but unfortunately there's a lot of underlying problems for youth in this country. As we can see from this headline, there's a lot of anger and a host of problems. 10 protesters from Barcelona and Valencia explain why they participated in this week's protests after Hassel's arrest. The entry into prison of Pablo Hasél for a 9-month sentence for exalting terrorism has been the trigger for the numerous protests that this week have taken place in Barcelona, Valencia, Madrid and other Spanish cities, and that have ended with violent clashes with the police. But the outbreak of the demonstrations, carried out mainly by young people, also reveals a deep malaise and an exhaustion that goes beyond the arrest of the rapper, the defence of freedom of expression and the influence that more groups can exert, radicals according to some protesters. There is a lot of accumulated anger, explains one of the 10 consulted by this newspaper in Barcelona, the epicentre of the altercations, and in Valencia, where there have been 8 detainees. Most of the young people come from groups and formations of nationalist, independence, anarchist and anti-fascist ideology, and from a wide spectrum of the left. There is a lot of anger and a host of injustices and the problems that young people suffer the most, but that extend to the rest of society. We can't access the labour market, or we have very precarious jobs, although I don't think a 50-year-old person would have it easier, for example, points out Alex Canton, 24, a graduate in political science and a master's degree in cooperation, but works as a Just Eat delivery person. He has participated in the 2 concentrations in Valencia, together with Babacar Diagne and Juan Antonio Garcia Ruiz, his fellow student. So the sentencing of the rap artist, the trigger for these altercations in cities like Madrid, Barcelona and Valencia, but as we could see there, youth here in Spain have a lot of underlying issues, especially when it comes to employment and finding a decent job. Now we'll turn to the health crisis here in Spain, and as we know, various autonomous communities are starting to ease restrictions as the infection rate goes down. We can see here from this headline, the relaxation of restrictions in several autonomous communities continues, supported by the fall in infections. Castilla-La Mancha has joined the communities this Saturday that relaxed their anti-COVID measures due to the improvement of the indicators, although Aragon and Galicia have registered a slight upturn in cases, and in Catalonia the speed of spread is slowly increasing. Meanwhile, with the cumulative incidence of cases still far from allowing the pandemic to be considered controlled, the security forces continue to act in the face of the proliferation of illegal parties. On the other hand, a study released today indicates that the death of 20,000 people in Spain in the first wave could have been prevented if home confinement had started just 7 days earlier. So various autonomous communities around the country now starting to ease restrictions as the health situation improves. We have got over the 3rd wave of the pandemic, but one expert here in Spain has already set a date for the 4th wave of the pandemic. As we can see here from this headline, Margarita de Val has set the date for the 4th wave of the coronavirus. It will be just as strong and many older people will die, she says. The CSIC virologist has spoken about the next wave of the coronavirus that will affect Spain and what the main consequences will be. She has also referred to the new strains that have emerged in recent months in different countries around the world. The 4th wave may come at the end of March, says Margarita de Val in an interview with 20 Minutes. If we have made plans for Easter, we will not change them. We will meet with people, it will continue to be cold, and there will be activity indoors, explained the virologist regarding the possibility of more infections occurring. So the fourth wave of the pandemic here in Spain just around the corner, according to one of Spain's leading virologists, Margarita de Val. Now let's have a look at the health situation around the country, looking at a map of the country in a couple of autonomous communities. We'll start with the map of the country as a whole, and we can see that the countrywide situation is extreme. The total amount of cases, the AI rate for the last 14 days, 294. There have been 1,103 deaths in the last 7 days. There are currently 16,314 people hospitalised in Spain with COVID, and there are 3,739 people in ICUs, which is just under 35% of all ICUs in the country. The Madrid community now, and the risk level there is still extreme. The total amount of cases, the AI rate for the last 14 days, the highest in Spain at 427. There are 3,272 people currently hospitalised in Madrid with COVID, and there are 657 people in ICUs, which is 47% of ICUs in the Madrid community. The Valencian community now, the risk level is also extreme. The accumulated incidence rate in the last 14 days now down to 295. There are currently 1,689 people hospitalised in the Valencian community with COVID, and there are 456 people in ICUs, which is just over 38% of all ICUs in that part of Spain. Now, we all know that Spain is a popular place for people from the UK to buy property. However, some people did think that Brexit was going to put an end to all that. But according to the Sunday Times, and as we can see in this headline, Spain is a buyer's market. Here's where to buy property in 2021. Whether you dream of a bolt hole on the Costa Blanca or the Canary Islands, here's our guide to buying amid COVID and Brexit. Despite Brexit, the pandemic, and any other hoops that lie between us and enjoying homes in the Spanish sun, the British are still by far the most prominent of foreign property buyers in Spain. Just under 4,000 property sales were to British buyers last year, with site sets mainly on the Costa Blanca, Costa del Sol, the Balearics and Canary Islands. There were 54% fewer sales last year than in 2019, with most estate agents regarding COVID rather than Brexit as the biggest spanner in the works. Mark Stucklin, the founder of the online advisory Spanish Property Insight, agrees. Despite all the obstacles, British buyers are still number one in Spain, and there's no obvious reason to think that that will change anytime soon. So there we go, the British still number one when it comes to foreign people buying property here in Spain, with the Costa Blanca, Costa del Sol, Balearics and Canary Islands the most popular places for them to do so. And Brexit apparently not getting in the way. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from Il Buzzo: if you have politicians with no empathy ruling a country, then you can't expect the citizens to stay calm. Spanish politicians are doing a horrible job. They're not capable of doing the tasks they were elected for. Il Buzzo, thanks for the comment, and unfortunately you are most likely right. Spanish politicians are not doing a very good job, and that is one of the reasons why we have so many social problems in this country. But let's be honest, it's been going on for a long time now. A lot of the problems that we have currently in Spain can be traced back at least a decade, maybe longer, to things that weren't done by the people in power. Politicians have continuously failed to deal with problems like youth unemployment, and that's why we have so many disenchanted youth looking for any excuse to riot and loot in some of the big cities here in Spain. The political system is completely divided, and as we can see, more and more people are now moving to the extremes. So things are not looking good from a political point of view. One here from Natalia: does anyone know where we can find the current rules and restrictions for local travel within Spain? Yeah, hi Natalia, thanks for the comment. It is a little bit confusing at the moment to know what the different restrictions are. There's 17 different rules and restrictions going on here in Spain according to which autonomous community you live in. If you live in Madrid, it's not the same as if you live in Valencia, and if you live in Valencia, it's not the same as if you live in Murcia. So a little bit confusing. I think only 4 autonomous communities are completely open at the moment, meaning that you can move freely in and out of them. The rest are closed. So for example, if you're in a place like Andalusia, I don't think you can leave that autonomous community at the moment. But things are changing on a daily basis. We know that as the health situation gets better, more and more places are starting to open up. Restrictions are being eased. But if you want to know exactly what's going on, you can go to the state broadcaster RTVE, and they have a map of the country which tells you exactly what the restrictions are in each part of Spain. So you can check that out. One here from John: hi Stuart, today's update shorter than usual but still informative. Regarding the reduction in the number of COVID cases going down, could it be your weather has got warmer by any chance? And along with the restrictions, this may have helped to improve the reduction in the number of cases. Take care all, John from the UK. Yeah, John, thanks for the comment. I'm not sure whether weather is one of the reasons why the incidence rate is coming down. It could be, not 100% sure, but as we know, the weather in the north of Spain is not the same as it is in the south, and the north of the country has also seen a decrease in numbers. I think the restrictions on how many people can get together have played a big part. For example, in a lot of parts of the country, you're not allowed to meet with people outside your family unit. Here in Madrid, for example, we're not allowed to go to other people's homes for dinner, for lunch, or for any other reason, and that could have something to do with it. We're only allowed to socialise with a small group of people at bars and restaurants, and in other parts of Spain, you can't even do that. So I think that most likely is the major reason for the drop in the incidence rate here in Spain. One here from Mrs. V. Sala. What is happening with the Spanish vaccination program? Yeah, thanks for the comment. The vaccination plan here in Spain is moving along slowly. I think 3% of the population has now been vaccinated. It got off to a rocky start. There were various problems as to why it did get off to a rocky start. Problems with supply, problems with logistics, and they're trying to get the plan back on track. Politicians, for example, the Prime Minister and the Health Minister are still optimistic that they can get people vaccinated by the summer, and there's even talk that Spain's own vaccine will be ready soon. So we'll wait and see what happens in coming weeks and months, but hopefully they can speed it up a little bit. One here from Michael. I read in the UK press today that the UK government is optimistic on the subject of vaccination passports and that UK tourists may be able to enjoy a summer holiday this year abroad. Given the state of the beleaguered Spanish tourist industry, this is promising news. I know plenty of people who have been locked down in Britain for over a year and can't wait to get some sun on their backs. The Greek government is already promoting Greece as a holiday destination. Do you think Spain will follow? Yeah, Michael, thanks for the comment. I think Spain will follow Greece and start to promote the country. We saw the tourism minister the other day saying that various conventions are going to go ahead this year. The Fitur Tourism Convention, and I think the Mobile World Congress is also planning to go ahead with crowds. And the minister the other day said that this is going to be the rebirth of the tourism sector in this country. So I imagine that the country will try to open up this summer and people will be able to get a little bit of sun on their backs, as you say in the comment. And finally, one here from Pete. Can anyone in Spain confirm that pesetas are still being used in some shops and areas, as there is over 1 billion pesetas still in circulation in Spain alone? Yeah, Pete, thanks for the comment. As far as I know, the peseta is dead. Maybe there's a few people that still have pesetas lying around, too lazy to take them to the central bank to get them changed. I did see in the newspaper a couple of weeks ago that there was a small town in the north of Madrid that was thinking about allowing people to use pesetas in small businesses there. Maybe if you went to buy bread or have a coffee, you could use your pesetas, and then those business owners could take them down to the central bank and get them changed into euros. But apart from that, I haven't seen anybody using pesetas. You can't use them here, for example, and I haven't seen a peseta since it went out of circulation in 2002, I think it was. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.